Mr. Speaker, I rise today to read a letter from a constituent, Pastor Dr. Ronald S. Williams. Mr. Williams asked the question, a mobster, a con man, gangster in the White House? I think so. This past week, Special Counsel Robert Mueller gave a verbal synopsis of his 2-year investigative report. He is quoted as saying, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. He also said the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing. This process would be impeachment. The question is, why hasn't the United States Congress started a formal impeachment investigation? In our nation's Pledge of Allegiance, we state that the United States is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Many of us have been taught to recite this pledge since elementary school. Today's society compels one to ask the question, are we truly one nation under God? Nancy Pelosi is a woman who I respect. However, I do believe her hesitancy to impeach this president is her opinion based upon polls and her belief that it would further polarize the country. However, the country is already divided and polarized, which can be greatly contributed to the madness of the present executive administration of this country. As a pastor, a father, a grandfather, and a friend of many, my answer to this question is no, we are not. I recently engaged in conversation with a pastor's wife who resided in the small community that I attended graduate school. I knew the town was small and malignant with bigotry, ignorance, and racism. As we conversed, I discovered that she too was a bigot. She stated that the present administration was the smartest and most intelligent to ever reside in the White House. I asked her if she was out of her mind. What about Roosevelt and Kennedy, she asked. I responded by asking her what she was talking about. She responded by saying they exploited women and it was Obama that divided and polarized the nation. I knew at that point that she was steeped in her ignorant opinion. I responded by telling her that I was not alive during the Roosevelt years, and during the administration of John F. Kennedy, we did not have internet and the means of communication that we have today. Regardless, at least they both were sophisticated statesmen who publicly presented themselves as leaders. Secondly, the right wing went after Clinton for his indiscretions, and Obama was scandal-free. It is glaringly apparent that many who support the present administration are either racist, steeped in religious beliefs, ignorant, or as my mother used to say, just plain dumb. They have chosen to support a president who has a proven record of being sexually condescending to women, will not oppose the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan and other hate organizations, is indecisive, condescending to anyone who challenges him, and hides behind his Twitter account rather than dealing with the real issues in our country and around the world. And to put icing on this cake, he is a proven liar. I believe the crooked ascension of Trump to the Oval Office is a gauge that measures the declining patriotic and moral values of the many citizens of America, as well as being the revelation of the hidden bigotry, judgmental attitudes that yet exist in many of those who call themselves evangelicals. This president has surrounded himself with yes men and women who apparently refuse to challenge his madness for fear of his wrath. I believe I can safely assume that the United States is no longer a democracy. A democratic government is one that is governed by the people or their elected representatives. In 2 years, this man has turned the tide and the nation is spiraling downhill quickly. My growing concern is that the Congress and Senate of the United States have more of a personal interest for themselves rather than a patriotic duty to the people they represent. The Republicans appear to have become a Trump cult, and the Democrats refuse to move against this man in a collective, decisive way. I remember the time that we were guided by principle and not by party. Congress, senators, you were not elected to collect a paycheck. You were elected to be the women and men of principle and maintain the health of a democratic nation. It does not take a genius to discern that this man wants to be a dictator in the truest sense of the word. He appears to be drawn to the evil and tyrannical dictators and is alienating our country from our closest and most trusted allies. This president praises the leaders of Russia and North Korea, while at the same time has been condescending to the leaders of Canada, the United Kingdom, and Germany, just to name a few. Something is wrong with this. Despite all of this, there are still many, including evangelicals and people of color, who are resolute in their support of this administration. Thomas Paine wrote, "Men must conquer their own spirits.
Time is now expired.
Even in the shadows of the guillotine, we must preserve and endure in spite of the threat." Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
The chair will remind members